Good afternoon, everybody. Pigskin Pete here. Happy Wednesday to everybody. Today, I'm going to get into the last division out of all the Power 5 conferences that I've covered, the Big Ten East, the most unpredictable division in all of football. Also, likely the most delusional fan base in the country is the Big Ten East. Now, why do you say that, Pete? Well, I'll tell you why. So one of my really good friends is an Ohio State fan. He's not completely delusional, but like most Ohio State fans, he's a little bit delusional. I was watching another YouTube channel the other day, and the guy had on a Michigan fan talking about the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry. And he made a comment in there. First of all, the whole interview, he was making comments like this, that Michigan and Ohio State are the two best football programs in the country. Now you see what I'm talking about. He actually believed it. Anyway, let's get right into it. Let's start with Maryland. Now, Maryland was in the ACC for a long time. And even the years that Clemson was a mediocre, 8-win team, they were still Clemson's bitch. Turtle soup. And maybe outside of Tennessee with that checkered powdered orange and white thing that makes your eyes hurt, they might have the ugliest helmet in all of football. One thing you may not know about Maryland is that they had the #1 overall drafted wide receiver to my Carolina Panthers last year in DJ Moore. This year, it looks like they had the #1 wide receiver in all of the Big Ten again. They also don't have any expectations of winning anything important. So, sorry, Maryland. Not really sorry, but kind of sorry. This is not your year. Rutgers. Rutgers. I don't know what to say. Fill in the blanks. Behind Oregon State and Kansas, you could swap those three teams out for the worst teams in all of college football. So, sorry, Rutgers. This is definitely not your year. Indiana. I've been saying over and over and over again, on record, that the Big Ten East might be the most unpredictable division in all of football, because they're the deepest. Well, they have, instead of having two good teams, they have maybe three, right? That's where my head must have been at, because I've just went through three teams now that don't have a shot at beating anybody important at any important time during the season. If Bobby Knight was coaching the Indiana football team, he'd probably get arrested for assault. He might win more games than whoever the joker that's coaching him now would. The best thing to come out of the state of Indiana in the past 3 years is Hunter Johnson, and now he's playing at Northwestern. Sorry, Indiana, this is not your year. Michigan State. Michigan State is a very hard team to predict. Now we're getting into the meat of the bone, right? So Michigan State, Mike D'Antonio wins, what, 9, 10, 11 games sometimes every single year since he's been there. A big upset. He owns Jim Harbaugh, like most coaches in the Big Ten East. But they're one of these teams, completely unpredictable. I have no idea from Michigan State year to year whether they're going to win 7 games or 11 games. Your guess is as good as mine. And don't sit here and pretend, if you're a Big Ten or a Michigan State fan, that you know either, because I promise you, you don't. I never met a Michigan State fan in real life till yesterday, and I gave him a $2 tip for bagging my groceries. The Michigan Jim Harbaughs. Now, to be completely honest with you here, I could go on about Michigan for an hour. This could be an hour-long video without a problem. I talk about Michigan in my sleep. That's how easy this is for me. All right, let's just start here. But I don't even know where to start. Let's start with Jim Harbaugh, right? Jim Harbaugh. Pretty good coach at Stanford. Had Andrew Luck. Made him look better than he was. Goes to the NFL. Has some success there. Goes to a Super Bowl, right? And another NFC championship game, which he lost both, with Colin Kaepernick. Was not that great of a quarterback. Jim Harbaugh is supposed to be the quarterback whisperer, right? That's what they hired him at Michigan for, because they haven't had a good quarterback in 50 years. Now, maybe not 50, 30, 20, whatever. At least since Michael Jackson was alive. If I'm a Michigan fan, I'm not saying Jim Harbaugh is a bad coach. He clearly is a good coach. Is he the best? Is he worth $10 million, $10 million a year? No, he's not. But he's supposed to be a quarterback guy. He was a quarterback. He's been there for 4 years now, and who have you recruited that's an elite quarterback. I'm waiting. I could wait all day if you want. Trust me, you don't want that. He hasn't recruited a single good quarterback, or great quarterback, let me say. I'm not going to say good. But the only good quarterback, the best quarterback he's had since he's been there, he just stole from Ole Miss because Hugh Freeze was getting hookers in Florida. That's not recruiting, that's stealing, or whatever, transferring. I cannot get over the delusion from Michigan fan base. They think that they're one of the best programs in the country. No, I'm sorry, not for 50 years. In modern football, they have not been a powerhouse. I don't care what they say. I don't care how many regular season wins they had. I don't care how many boosters you have donating to that program. I don't care how nice your football stadium is. I don't care if Michigan football is the only interesting thing in the entire state of Michigan. Prove to me that you're an elite program. Prove it. 1/2 of one claimed national title is not a powerhouse. Clemson has more national titles than you. Georgia has more national titles than you. Syracuse has more national titles than you. There's 50 friggin' teams who have more national titles than you. If Michigan wins the East, it'll be a minor miracle. Penn State. Penn State, to me, is very close to being the best team in the Big Ten. Very close second to Ohio State. Ohio State has more talent, and I'll get into them in a minute. But what James Franklin's done at Penn State, now I'm not going to get into the whole thing with the scandal at Penn State. That was just a terrible thing. They had another coach after that came in there and sort of kept everything together. And then James Franklin, who was at Vanderbilt before that, came there and just rejuvenated that place. I've been saying a lot on my videos lately about coaching in this new era of football. And the more I look into it, the more right I am. So I'm going to go ahead and pat myself on the back for that. I'm no stranger to touching myself. Like I said before, look at the coaching landscape. If you take Nick Saban out of the equation, you got Dabo Swinney, Kirby Smart, Scott Frost, Lincoln Riley, James Franklin. So there's a trend here going on. These younger coaches relate to these younger players, and you're seeing it play out on the football field in actual results. Now, Penn State has a great quarterback. Maybe he might be the best quarterback, excluding the Michigan kids coming in the Big Ten. Trace McSorley, very underrated. Yeah, they lost Saquon Barkley. But they have been trending upwards since Franklin got there. And there's no reason for me to think that they are going to stop doing that. I'm going on record right now. I'm saying that if Penn State won the Big Ten outright, won the East and then won the Big Ten, I would not be shocked about it. I give them a 45% chance of doing so. Wait, add the 10 minus 5 plus 2. Yeah, I think that's right. Ohio State. Now, I haven't met a person. College football is a funny thing with fans, right? I have never met a fan outside of the state of Ohio that does not hate Ohio State. Now, an Ohio State fan will tell you that's because we've been a dominant program, and there's a lot of truth to that. However, Ohio State has inexplicable losses every single year. Since Urban Meyer's been there. Yeah, he won a national title, and that was, I mean, you can't take that away from them. I'm not saying they're not an elite program. They clearly are. Urban Meyer is the top 3 coach in the country. There's not a doubt about that. My whole thing with Ohio State is that there's a big difference when you're Urban Meyer recruiting players to play in Ohio than it is in the state of Florida. So we're seeing that play out. Yes, you dominate your division and conference since Urban Meyer's been there. There's no doubt about that. But when you get into the playoffs, in recent years, you get mopped up. And JT Barrett is the worst coaching mistake that Urban Meyer ever made. I'm not saying JT Barrett's a terrible football player, but there was two players that were backing him up that were a better quarterback than him. And I understand loyalty and all of that, and that's what I hope doesn't happen at Clemson. Is I hope that Dabo Swinney doesn't have some kind of loyalty to Kelly Bryant and resists putting in Trevor Lawrence just because, you know, Kelly Bryant's been there for 5 years and backed up to Deshaun Watson and came out, had a great year last year and took him to the playoff. My point is that that's a bad coaching decision. Ohio State would have been a better football team without JT Barrett at the helm last year. I don't have any pause in saying that. Nonetheless, I expect Ohio State to win because they have the most talent of any team in the Big Ten, top to bottom. It's not even close. They recruit in the top 5 recruiting class every single year. There's no reason why they shouldn't be winning that division or conference every single year. But I'm not a big believer in Urban Meyer. I think he's going to lose a couple of games he probably shouldn't lose, and maybe to Penn State, maybe to Michigan. And if that happens, then they won't win the Big Ten. Flip a coin. Ohio State's probably more likely to win it, but I'm not counting Penn State out. That's it. That's it for me. That's the end of my college football division breakdowns. Hope everybody enjoyed it. I look forward to doing more individual deep diving into individual teams within these conferences over the next several months before the real fun starts in college football. So thanks for tuning in. I love all y'all. Pigskin Pete checking out.